What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We appreciate you being here. Before we get into today's video, if you are watching this video before September 19th, 2020, we are having our next free webinar on that date, on Saturday, September 19th. I want you guys there. I want everyone there. This is going to be awesome. I really am excited for this webinar. I've been sitting on a lot of research that I've been putting together for this presentation, and I don't think it could come at a better time. Where everybody's looking for control, but nobody knows where to go, this is a perfect topic. So make sure you check the link in the description wherever you're watching or listening to this so you can sign up totally free, but we want you there. It's interesting too, as I was just telling you, Tesla today is down 21%. It's September 8th. It's the biggest down day that they've ever had today. The NASDAQ itself, which is an index, one of the big three indexes here, had its biggest down day ever today, down 12%. So are we topped out? Are we going to start to see this thing tip over? Maybe. You know, maybe it was like just a little break for a new all-time high to test that high before coronavirus. And now that we've double tapped it, even though we broke for a new high briefly, no one will care about that in the years to come if we fall. So it'll be interesting to see. And the dollar rebounded today back over 93, which shows some strength. So it's weird. Stocks go down.
Dollar goes up.
Dollar goes up. It's like it's on its own thing. But that's because it's the dollar. When you talk about the dollar index, it's a weight of the US dollar against 7 other currencies. So it's not just like what happens here matters to the dollar index. It also has to do with what happens to the other countries. And you saw on the recap, the GBP pairs went crazy today. GJ, GU, they fell like 2%. That's a lot for them.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe that GBP movement also impacted the dollar index movement in some way today too. That could be. It's really hard to tell.
Is there a way that you can tell? Like, is there a website you can go to and see what the mass transactions are that day? Like, exactly?
No. Well, your broker would know. Your broker would have the statistics. Like, Wanda would have all of their clients, but you wouldn't know on the entire world. No one is pooling all of the data from all the brokers. There's so many brokers. You know what I'm saying?
It'd be so interesting. Like today, you know, with GBP pairs. Like, who was doing business? What was happening?
Well, you'd like to think that if you believe in like the idea of like bulls and bears, then everybody was selling. Everybody was selling GBP pairs today for whatever reason.
And buying what?
Well, I mean, when you're trading a Forex pair, if you're selling GBP, JPY, you're selling pounds and buying yen.
Right. I know that. So, but in that case, they'd be buying yen. So that's what I'm saying. It's like so many people are selling their GBP pairs, but it's like to do business where?
Right. Or for what?
Right.
Comment below if you have any ideas.
I don't know.
So today's main topic is about meditation.
Yes.
Something that's very important to you and me. It's been very helpful to me in my trading, but also me in my decision making, I think. So before we go deep on the idea, surface level, for somebody who isn't meditating right now, hears that word and kind of gets scared, what's the first thing you tell them when they're like, I can't meditate?
The first thing I would say is that you can't meditate, like you can't do it wrong. So there's nothing to be afraid of.
What do you mean?
So there's different types of meditation. You can define meditation as so many different things. But essentially, for this conversation, we'll break it down to 2 different types of meditation just based on like different articles and stuff that I've pulled from. So there's focused attention meditation, and then there's open monitoring meditation. There's also loving kindness meditation, but I don't think that one's that applicable to this conversation since it's like revolved around traders. So we're not going to focus on that one. But focused attention meditation is, I think, what people initially think of when they think of meditation. Like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to think about one thing and only one thing for a sustained period of time, which is incredible. You know, a lot of people do that and they focus on their breath. Like, the breath is that one thing to kind of ease them into it. Mm-hmm. And then the more that you practice with that is when you can get into open monitoring meditation, which is where you're not actually... You do have a focus, which is kind of why it's like the gateway, because obviously your focus is always on something, but you're really not focused. So an analogy would be like, think of you're sitting at a park bench and people are passing by you in every which direction and you're seeing them, but you're just watching them go by. You're not getting stuck on any one individual, no matter how much like you might want to like follow that, like, oh, I like their shoes, or like whatever it is that your mind wants to follow, you just don't. Like, you focus on not focusing on the things passing by you.
That's really difficult to understand. So what if you, like, my thought initially to that is, what if you can't really do that? Like, what if that's tougher for you?
Well,
and
yeah,
it's
that's
easier
like the
to
second
focus
phase.
Okay, so it's
So you
easier
would-
for most people to focus on one thing and just start focusing on their breath and then they start to bring the attention to their individual thoughts. Do certain people, do you think, have like more thoughts that are like they have, like when you talk about people passing by, are there more people passing by some people's brains than in other people's? Like, what if I only have 2 people that pass by? It's just 2 individual thoughts, and the rest of that time it's just...
Yeah, so we have what's called our default mode network, which is kind of like in the center of our brain, and it connects so many different parts of the brain that I'm not even going to go ahead and list because
Can you give us like a little bit?
It literally, there's honestly like 10
is that the
different
neurons? Is that what makes that up?
Well,
neurons make up the default mode network? What does that mean?
So the default mode network is, there's different parts of your brain.
Okay.
So like for like main...
Like network of what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's a network of neurons.
Got it. That's what I
Yes.
thought. Okay, so it's a network of connections.
Yes.
And it's how these different parts of the brain talk to each other?
Yeah, pretty much. So the way that a neuron works is, just like a little background on that, is a neuron has these things called dendrites, which think of those as like the little hairs outside of it.
Right. Cells have those too. The cilia, isn't that what they're called? Something like that? Check me on my 9th grade biology right there. 8th grade biology. Something
I
like
think
that.
so. But that's
what they look like. They're like little hairs.
Yeah. So the dendrites are what capture, the initial signal, and then it goes into the cell body. Forget what that's called, but it goes into like a cell body essentially, where then it decides, okay, is this an inhibitor? Are we not going to do anything, or are we going to act? Which then pulses the axon, and then it goes down into these other little things, which are I forget exactly what they're called, but the process is like your synapses.
And all this is happening super fast?
Yes, and they're so small. So essentially it's like all these neurons, like if something's firing, then it's cueing another neuron, like until it gets down the way of wherever it needs to go, the message. It sounds super confusing because like we're talking about little microscopic
So what
things.
does the default node network do for us?
So to that level, like
Is
it's
it
really
node
not
or mode? Like N or M?
Mode.
Default mode network.
Yeah.
What does that do for us?
So you don't really need to understand the neuron like complexity for the sake of traders and meditation. But the default mode network in relation to meditation, that's the part where you say, okay, as some people have like only 2 people passing by versus multiple people, that's all takes place in your default mode network. It's where we talk to ourselves. So if you have a lot of mind chatter, like when you're sitting there and you can just get lost in thought and there's so much going on, that means you have a super high active default mode network. And meditation has actually shown to reduce activity in that area of the brain, meaning that you can then focus more and practice that concentration, that meditation where you focus on only one thing. So you're suppressed.
Is that why I feel like I don't have as many, I feel like I don't have as many thoughts in my head as a lot of people think. I feel like I'm thinking more intently about one thing more often than a bunch of things. I'm just focused on one thing, seeing in different scenarios, weighing different outcomes, different. That's why I feel like as we're talking about this, and I'm sure some other people can relate, they're like, I don't have all these thoughts going through my head. I am stuck just on these few couple. Where can meditation step in to provide clarity to maybe get you to the next step? How can you move? Because you said it's like the next step, right?
The next step would be like open monitoring meditation, like as you go deeper into
even if it's just a few thoughts, monitoring those few thoughts.
So, but it's where you're monitoring them non-reactively, like completely unbiased for what it is. And when you're doing that, it's ultimately just to see the underlying truth in whatever emotional or cognitive thought your brain was thinking of.
That was my next question. What's the value in understanding and watching these thoughts go by and being able to do that? Where does that provide value in a real everyday life decision-making situation?
Well, for traders, for meditation, obviously you're in a super, depending on what time frame you're trading, but it's a super fast-paced, I feel like, thing 100%. Happening in your brain where
short-term decisions.
Yeah, there's so many different parameters.
It's good
so
that you said that too, because like
things.
short-term traders make shorter-term decisions. Swing traders don't have to do this. It's different. Their chemistry internally it's totally different.
Yeah.
So it's fast decision-making. So that's why are we as traders more likely to kick into that default mode network?
Well,
because we're making decisions fast.
So more so in the sense of meditation, you would want to be able to lessen the activity in your default mode network to be able to focus.
Right. But do we naturally go into a more active where we're talking to ourselves more and more thoughts are happening? Because I feel like we do. Like as soon as you get, you know what I mean?
We could do research on it and find out.
Well,
I can't answer that
for sure,
because we don't have the research.
You know the way that we trade. So like if you come to the desk and you have all these questions to ask yourself, plus you have the group chat coming in, you have all these different inputs coming in, you have so many different things going through your mind. And then what if you're somebody like me who's posting on Facebook and creating content about it too? Then you got to do that too. So you've got all these things going through your mind. So instantly, while you're trading and trying to make a trading decision, you're also kicked into that place basically where you're talking to yourself. And we know you want to not really be in that place to make the clearest decision, because is there proof or is there any science to the idea that if you are out of the default mode network and you're really focused, so to speak, and not looking at a bunch of different thoughts, that you make better decisions?
Yeah. So I don't remember. I don't want to say millions, but there's
thousands of studies.
A lot of studies out there on meditation. That's why I didn't bring any specific ones to the table, because there's so many nowadays. But there was one that I remember. So they had a control group of people that obviously were not doing a meditative practice versus a control group of people that were. Mm-hmm. And the test that they used on them was the people to kind of test this default mode network, the reactivity in the brain, while they're being tested. So they would show on a screen flashing lines, and then they would have to press a button or something like that whenever they saw a line that was slightly different in size. So that's where the ability to pay attention really comes into play, and you want to decrease that default mode network because you don't want your brain all over the place.
Interesting.
And it was shown that the people that did do a meditative practice,
could see the differences.
Yep, they were more quickly and accurate to see the difference in the line shape, and on a brain scale, on a brain scan level, their default mode network was less active during that time period of focused concentration.
So applying that into trading real quick? That's what
I was just going to do is applying that into trading. Once you get into that, the open monitoring meditation, that's where your ability to, since you're viewing it with no bias, with no reactivity, you're able to clearly see the cognitive patterns. And what is trading? It's patterns.
Right. That's
without the emotions.
Say.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like when you're trading, you want to get into this state
where you can identify every little difference, every little detail.
But non-reactively until it's time to react. That's where then you having the plan, we're at the bottom of all your statement, it helps sometimes, to have that literally
trigger point.
Go.
Yeah. But that's called a trigger point. Your trading plan needs that for sure. But that is interesting that if you shut out all the inputs, so to speak, and get all that nonsense out of your way in your head, you'll see more detail in things. That study is pretty cool and relatable to trading. And I think the other one that's interesting is where they had people meditate, and I think it was like they were focusing on light, and they were able to change the particles of light shining through, I believe it was like multiple layers of paper or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I didn't read. Didn't we watch something about that one?
Maybe that's where I'm thinking of. Did you know what I'm talking about, though?
Not in detail off the top of my head.
But it was the same video where they also did the study of the hot stove on the people that meditated, which was interesting, too. So, if you and me weren't in a meditation, and you would think that at that point your brain is processing a lot more inputs, not singularly focused on a few things. If we were in that state, when we, in the study that they did, the people like us that didn't meditate, we would go touch the stove. As we get closer to the hot stove, we anticipate and feel more pain before we even touch it because we know it's coming. But that's because we're not actually living in the moment. We're living in something that's about to happen. Whereas the people that were meditating beforehand or could get into a meditative state for this study, they didn't feel any pain up until the second that they touched it, even though they knew they were going to touch it. They were able to observe.
But then they felt the pain longer.
They felt, no. They felt the pain more intensely and shorter.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Yes, I do remember what you're talking about.
It died off quicker because now that their hand is off the thing, the pain is there, but it's ending. It's going away. In the current moment, there is no pain to them. So it's different. It's just, it would last longer for us because we're still thinking about it. We're thinking now in the past. We're not thinking in the current moment.
Right.
That's applicable to trading too. Think about that.
But you also just brought up a whole different part of brain study, which is kind of in a way the placebo effect, where if you think something enough, you start to believe it, the hot stove.
Right.
You start to believe that it's hot and that you're feeling that before you're actually feeling that. You're tricking yourself into feeling it.
I think for me, that part sticks out on the trading side of things because it's reactionary. once it's done, once the hand is off the stove and your hand is no longer being burned, once the trade is lost or won, it's over. Once you're in the trade, it's over. It's just about managing it now and managing that trade, managing that pain. What are you going to choose to do? Linger on the bad decision you might have made yesterday or last week, how much that burned, right? There's time, or not, and just focusing on the current moment. Where's it at with this candle? Where's it at with your system? Where's it at with your checklist? So the meditation can translate then to not only showing you clearer details, but helping you make better decisions in the very moment that you're in. That's a hard thing to actually grasp, that the idea of this very moment, because it's constantly fleeting. It's constantly leaving you. So to really live in the moment is very hard.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially as you're trading, because your heart rate's going, you're having to make all these decisions, you're getting more inputs than you were, especially if you're like me and you're just waking up. It's super hard.
Yeah, that's why it's like you need to be in that
I think you have to meditate before you trade. If you're waking up and trading in the morning, I think you have to. I know for me, I don't lose trades when I do that. I don't take as many trades too, but it prevents me from losing. I'd lose more money than I'd make.
And for the people that think that they need to meditate for long periods
of
time,
10 minutes a morning, 10 minutes.
For a long duration in order to see effects, that's not true. Like
No.
there was another study that students were studying only for 4 days, 20 minutes a day. That's it. 20 minutes is a little extensive. I'll get into that in a little bit. But this study, it was 4 days, 20 minutes a day, and they showed improved focus.
Cognitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's just so interesting, even just what practicing meditation into the time. You don't need to do it for 20 minutes a day. Even practicing it 5 minutes a day. Like
Sure.
This is where understanding the brain, kind of going back to neurons, but not exactly. The brain is neuroplastic. So
meaning it's constantly changing. It's moldable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So think of it literally like a muscle. When you work out a muscle
100%.
over and over again, it gets stronger. So when you meditate and you practice that over and over again, it'll
natural.
get stronger. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, even if it's like 60 seconds a day, just the intention of doing it and making yourself show up. Hey, I'm going to practice meditation. Even if it's only 60 seconds, I'm going to do my best. You'll get better at it if you stay consistent.
I like the thinking about things too, like setting an intention.
Yeah.
And then I'll take notes. Some people like your brother Ryan, he don't do that. He don't like, he was like,
well, that's why I said in the beginning that there's so many types of meditation.
So you have to find what's good.
I think that's like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Like, cause you're like consciously engineering your thoughts in that moment. You have a topic that you want to think about and you consciously but you do, you put the focused attention meditation. You are focusing on one thing, but you're more like consciously engineering it. Like you're playing out how you want those thoughts to go, where you want to move, like the chess pieces.
Well,
I feel.
I think if you're really busy, it's hard to go from really busy and constantly getting input to then slowing down. Yeah. So to break it up for me sometimes, I'd like to, and really it just depends. Like if we've got this webinar coming up, so yeah, I'm going to take my meditation sometimes. If I'm really feeling like I've got some thoughts on my mind that need to get out, I'll meditate and I'll come out of that with ideas that were in my head. So whether you say you need the meditation or not to access them, I feel like I do. And it helps in the morning. Why does it help in the morning? You told me this before. Why is it better in the morning? Because
in the morning, your brain, I'm sure there might be studies about this. I'm not exactly sure. But just to maybe make a comparison, I would assume it's your default mode network that would be less active in the morning.
I think I've definitely heard that before.
I don't know if that's exactly true, but I do know why it's better to meditate in the morning is because when you do wake up, naturally your brain is less active.
So
you don't have as many inputs. That's why it's not good to look at your phone first thing in the morning because you're blasting your brain with all these inputs, not even allowing it to have its own thought for the day.
Right.
Like you're already letting it think. Like your phone is thinking for you by just looking at that first thing in the morning.
Do you know a lot of the guys in the group that are meditating for like the first time? Do you know any of the traders that are meditating for the first time and like using an accountability partner to keep them on it? Because it's hard, I think, for the consistency. It's hard to do this. Sam Harris has that app that we like that kept us on the 50 days, the first 50, right? I mean, that's not really an accountability partner.
Well, he changed it to 28 days now.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So do you find a lot of the guys using a partner, or is it more something that you see people going after on their own?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I haven't asked a lot of traders if they have an accountability partner for that, but I do know of some traders that have started it and they've been consistent with themselves. Like they haven't needed the accountability partner. So
think about what it's done for. We're thinking about the same person right now. I mean, think about what it's done for him.
Yeah.
I feel like for some people, even meditating not only will bring you the peace of mind while you're trading, like for a trader. It won't help you make better decisions just while you're trading, but just like reflecting on the trading after the fact in a slower mindset, with a slower mind, you will be like, yeah, like today, I'm glad I didn't take any of those trades. None of the probabilities were in my favor. If they're winners or losers, it doesn't matter. More times than not, it won't work out for me. So I'm glad that I'm able to not be in that trade. I feel like that thought was not a thing before I started meditating and slowing myself down and thinking about what I was thinking about first. You just take more care with your thoughts. Ryan mentioned it in the last video when he was here. Not the second to last video, which I apologize for anybody that watched the video with Matt, Ryan, and Rylee. I fucked up the audio. I forgot to record the audio on here.
The camera, that's raw, baby. That is real, some raw footage.
But the content's good there. So, but Ryan was saying,
anyway.
Yeah, Ryan was saying, be deliberate and precise with your words. Mm-hmm. So I think meditation has taught me to be deliberate and precise with my thoughts.
That's what I was just going to say, is meditation has so many benefits, even more than just trading. Like if you start meditating, not only will you notice benefits in your trading, you'll notice things in your everyday life. Yeah. Like you'll get maybe less frustrated doing a simple task because you're able to then process the emotion.
How about with your relationship partner? We never fight.
Yeah.
Like we don't fight.
Because we're both conscious humans.
Well, we communicate really well, but think about that. Like we don't argue.
Right.
Do you think us both meditating every morning individually has anything to do with that? Probably. It's just like you realize what matters and what doesn't. It's almost like it's got some of the benefits of smoking weed too.
Even on like you were saying, meditation to use when you want to go deeper into thoughts sometimes. Mm-hmm. For me, like
meditation pulls you out.
Right. Like the other day, I had to do a midday meditation because my thoughts were just everywhere. Like I had my default mode network was overreactive. It was too much. So I needed to meditate to bring that down, to then figure out, okay, let me focus. That way I can actually be productive and not be everywhere. And then my work was so much better afterwards. Like I actually felt like I was doing more because I was able to focus on it more.
Right. That's interesting. If you guys like this conversation, I think where we need to go next with this in another video is talking about how you use the crystals with the meditation and stuff like that, and how those have made an impact too. That's some deep shit. So we'll see what they like about this one. See if this is good enough for them first.
Do you want to do the crystal fact now, since you just brought it up?
Yeah. That's a good idea. Because this one's from my desk. This is my crystal.
I think the we didn't do one with the guests. No. Anytime we have guests, I don't do a crystal.
But the last one we did was the black tourmaline. That's mine too.
Yep. So.
But this is the money one.
Today's crystal is pyrite, and otherwise known as fool's gold. I'm not sure how well you guys can see it. Maybe a little shimmery there, but it kind of looks like gold. So if you were mining and like you came across this at first, you might be like, oh shit, I'm rich.
But you're not. It's just a shiny rock.
Yeah. Just a shiny rock.
With some magic powers.
Yes. So let's read in the book about this one. This one brings confidence, luck, abundance, productivity, and creativity. It says it may be too intense for bedrooms. This is more of a rock that you want to have like in your office, whether that be at home or a physical office, wherever you're working, and you want to think in terms of abundance, of just an oversupply, not even necessarily money, just an abundance in anything. This is a
energy, love.
Yeah, creativity, like just any sort of emotions like that. This guy is great for. Let's see. Yeah, the book is just kind of talking about the name behind it, like the PYR in pyrite equals fire in Greek. So it's supposed to spark.
You know what we should talk about? I don't mean to cut you off. I think that this kind of conversation about the meditation stuff is a good door to talking about even like some of the energy readings and the energy signs. We could do a video about that kind of stuff too. I think a lot of people are probably very like at least the people making money trading are probably a lot of fire energy, I would guess.
Like, are you talking about like the element?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even know that much about that.
No, but I'm just guessing.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. From the one-on-ones I've done with traders, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, you gotta want it. Yeah. You gotta have that whatever you want to call it.
That's more of like the masculine energy. Like,
yeah, but you don't need to be masculine. Much that goes
you don't
need to be
it.
Masculine. Like, look at Lindsay. Lindsay fucking kills it. And Lindsay doesn't have any masculine energy, really. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, but she does.
Yeah, she's very.
Her focus, her like.
Yeah, but
relentless.
But she's not pursuit. Aggressive. She's not aggressive towards other people. She's non-confrontational. She's not like that, you know.
But she is with her own goals.
Yeah, definitely. So she could have it there. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
Everybody has masculine and feminine energies.
It's just about how you're balanced.
Right.
Right. Cranked up.
Right.
Some of us are cranked up on the masculine. Some of us are cranked up on the feminine. Some of us are balanced in the middle.
Yeah.
Is there a better place to be than not to be? Like, is it better to be balanced, more masculine and then feminine, or no? There's no right or wrong.
Well, you do want to be more balanced in both of them.
Be more balanced, but not be more one than the other.
Right. Like you don't, just because you're a male doesn't necessarily mean you want to be more masculine than feminine necessarily. You want to have a happy balance of both.
If you're a male and you're feeling real feminine and you just want to let it shine, it's 2020, baby. You do what you got to do.
You can't describe it like that because that is not exactly what
I'm playing,
what it
but that was funny.
Like for me, like I'm somebody who up until, I mean, I'm still working on it all the time, but I feel like sometimes
I feel like
I'm
you were
heavier.
way more masculine when I met you.
Yeah.
And now you're way more feminine.
I was
and that's
heavy in my
I'm,
masculine
but
energies.
I'm pretty tapped into some of my feminine energy, so I probably brought some of that out in you. And I think you and I share masculine qualities too. And
I was just going to say, let's save this for a whole nother episode because
no,
we're like talking about it, but haven't even really told them what masculine and feminine energy is.
If we love them. Like they're really listening all the way through, commenting back. So, I'm glad that you finally got yourself back on the comment section.
Yeah. Sorry guys. Read the comments.
What's today's, secret Rylee code?
Today's secret Rylee code is, I think I did do a secret code in the last one. I just didn't do a crystal one.
Right. Today's
secret code, pizza.
Ooh.
I like pizza.
We just had pizza the other day, bro. We're not having pizza again.
I know, but I looked at the pizza in there.
Right.
The pizza shirt.
Right. But to like kind of sum us up, first of all, for everybody watching, we appreciate you sitting all the way through. We hope that you find value and appreciate us trying to be as normal as we can still in front of a camera. No matter how many videos we do, I think we're still going to always be kind of goofy in front of a camera.
That's us, though.
Yeah. But to sum it all up, to kind of bring it back together. So for me, being more active than you are on the trading side of things right now, I can speak to where trading and meditation have come together for me. It's more just a place of like, when I say it all together, like what I picture is like a huge stone castle, huge stone house where like a Greek god would live in. Like if you're meditating and I know my plan and I know my business and I know where I'm trying to go and I have goals for my plan, my business, like the meditation just makes me not care what anybody else is saying, not care what anybody else is doing. I feel good with my plan. I feel good with where I'm going. And that's why when I show up to trade after I meditate, I trade a lot better. And I make better decisions with my videos the rest of the day, my business decisions the rest of the day, and all of that. Closing Bitcoin, the day I took Bitcoin out when it was still over 10K, still over 11,000, I meditated that morning. Whether that plays a factor into it or not, I think it does.
Because you get tapped in with your inner self.
Yeah, and then he's telling me exactly where the money's at. So where do you, what about you outside of trading? How has meditation really made an impact for you? What would you say to other people to get started into it, to motivate them to do it?
That's so interesting because I feel like I've been like open monitor. What did I call it again? Yeah, open monitoring. I called it something and now I don't even know. Open monitoring meditation. I think that's actually the scientific name for it.
Scientifical. Go ahead, finish your thought.
It's long into the podcast by this point.
Finish your thought.
Anyway, I've kind of been doing that my whole life. So for me, if anything, I feel like it's just made me able to understand other humans better, which brings just a level of emotional intelligence to where I don't really have confrontations with people in a negative way.
Because you can read them well, you can feel them out well, you can tap in with them well.
Right, and I know, like, even growing up, for instance, just of like an example maybe anybody can relate to, like the drama scene. I was never involved. I never wanted to be involved because I could see it so clearly. Like I understood the people and I could see when intentions were pure, when they weren't, when things were just simply miscommunicated. Like that's a big thing. When you're studying 100%. And you're practicing meditation, you see the miscommunication so much more clear.
Right.
And you realize that like, hey, we're just a silly human. Let's open our mouth and just communicate.
Right.
And then everything is more peaceful. So I feel like if you need a little motivation to get started, honestly, it would just be if you want more of a peaceful...
Peace of mind.
Yeah, like it's just...
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's peaceful.
Easier, happier.
Yeah, for sure.
A
better understanding, a deeper connection with people too, because you could understand them more. You could conversate with them better.
People that are getting into this stuff a lot better. You can show this stuff to the people and help uplift the people around you. Like imagine being able to show your mom or your dad, somebody who never would do this stuff, to do this and get them into it and change, you know what I mean? So there's so much value you bring to the people around you, and you tap into your own happiness more. Like our boy out in Orlando who we're talking about. He's just like, I'm just happy. I don't know why, I'm just happy. It's like, bro, it has nothing to do with how much money you're making. It just happens to be he's making more money. It just happens to be he's got his business up and rolling, right?
But
it also happens to be,
him.
I think it's way more than
because happiness comes from within you.
Exactly, not the money.
No.
The money gives you spending ability while you're happy.
The money just enhances
right.
experiences.
That's it. Right. The happiness has to come before that.
Yeah.
That's a good place to end us. So we appreciate you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying all the way through. If you enjoyed the video, the episode, wherever you're watching or listening, make sure you're subscribed. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Comment pizza if you listened all the way through. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Comment your favorite type of pizza.
You heard it.
Bye.